Well, hello there, Adam Bazalgette, founder of Scratch Golf Academy. Today, 2 simple keys for mastering the art of putting, or at least 2 things I think are really important to give you some drills and ideas for each. Simple stuff. I think it will help you. 3 looks we'll commonly see in putting setups. That's Luke Donald on the left, Charles Howell on the right. Number 1, more bent over than you would see them in a normal full swing shot. Secondly, you'll notice the significant bend in the arms for both of them. That's not something you'd see in a full shot. That attaches the upper arm to the ribs a bit. And finally, notice if I draw a line up the club shaft, it may not be exactly in line with the forearms, but it's pretty close. Before we get outside and flesh this out for just a minute, let's compare Charles Howell on a full swing setup with his putt, and you'll see, again, significantly more bent over for the putt, straight arms and an angle there versus bent arms and shaft lined up more with forearms. One. So why would those 3 things be important? Well, a couple of ideas here. Number 1, the more you bend over, the more your stroke will match the target line. The taller you stand, the rounder it gets. We don't want that. Number 2, when you bend your arms or flex them a little bit so they touch the inside of the rib cage, it facilitates bending over. If your arm's at full length, you're probably going to be standing too tall unless you have a very short putter. Secondly, on that regard, when you connect your arms to the inside of your rib cage, it stabilizes your stroke. And the final thing, if you've watched me or anybody else probably online give a full swing video on the grip, we want the butt of the hand on top. We want this sort of angle, club more in the fingers to give you mobility. That's the opposite of what we want with putting. We want stability, so somewhere much more in the palm. Doesn't have to be exactly in line with the forearm, but reasonably stabilizes the wrist. And make sure the trail hand doesn't get up on top. That should be up against the fingers here as well, keeping it in line. Before we look at number 2, let's have a quick look at face on at something that deals with the stroke. So the whole idea of the 3 things we've just discussed is that, hey, certainly the feel for the stroke is in your hands, but you don't want them active, you want them passive. So if you can get these locks, if you like, get this thing in position, you're in good shape to do just that. Now, a couple of quick thoughts on that. When you get in there, when you practice this, let your shoulders retract and relax against your body. That way, what you do with your body will have much more effect on your arms. Don't ride them up like this. And secondly, try for yourself. This is one of my favorite drills. Get your trail hand right behind your lead hand, crimp your arms so they just touch your rib cage, and make a few strokes. And you see how stable your arms start to get when they're tucked under and they're bent a little bit. That's the feeling you're looking for. And just hit some putts without a target to get this feel drilled in there and take advantage of those setup cues. Let's look at one other feature then, number 2 we want to work on, and following that I'll give you a very surprising putting fact. So here's another thing you'll notice when you watch top putters, and this is pretty much without variation. If we looked at where the address is and where the end of the backswing is, let's say right there, and we go through to the follow through and add that line, you will pretty much see equal distance back and forth or very close to it. As I'll show you, that's not what we see with most people. Okay, hundreds of thousands of strokes have been measured on various putting contraptions and devices that could measure acceleration, deceleration rates. I have decades of anecdotal experience to add to that, if you like. Overwhelmingly, amateur golfers over-accelerate. Their follow-throughs are longer than their backswings, not the other way around. So if someone barks out at you next time you miss a putt, you decelerated, it's not likely that that's exactly what happened. So think of it this way: if I was tossing a tennis ball to someone, would my follow-through be a lot longer than the backswing? It wouldn't. It would just be so. I would toss it at top speed, right at the bottom, and that would hold true whether it was a very small toss or a bigger toss. But you'll notice bigger tosses, more energy. So if you want a nice little dissertation on this, get the Scratch Golf Academy app. It's free at the App Store. Go to the tools section, Putting Tempo Trainer, have a whole video and tools to help you find your putting rhythm. But suffice it to say, whether it's a small putt or a big putt, what makes the difference is the overall energy and size of stroke, not how much hit I give it. So number 1, if you can get a good setup, get locked in there, relax, get the hands, although the feel's there, get them out of the stroke. And number 2, develop good rhythm in your stroke. You are going to be a better putter. Hope this helps you. Thanks again, and leave a question or comment below. Happy to get to as many as I can.